All right, Buck, let's change gears a little bit from one Michigan man to another. Tom Brady. I want to go back in the time machine here. 2017, the decision that Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots had to make on what to do with Jimmy Garoppolo. Remember during that time, in the middle of that season, they ended up trading Jimmy Garoppolo to the 49ers for the 43rd pick in the 2018 draft. That decision, Buck, at the time, I don't think people remember, there was at least a little talk about do they keep Jimmy Garoppolo and maybe move on from Tom Brady, which almost seemed like more of a Patriots thing to do when you look at their history of moving on from guys maybe a little early versus too late and not letting your emotions and your feelings get involved. But obviously this is the GOAT. This is Tom Brady here, and they decided to move Jimmy Garoppolo. But somebody from a team got to me and just posed the question, in hindsight, looking at all the factors, A, was it the right move, and B, how would history be different if they had actually traded Brady instead of Garoppolo?
That is a really good one. I think the Patriots still win the Super Bowls that they won because I think that the team was good enough. And even though Tom Brady came back in epic fashion to win the game against Atlanta, I think Jimmy Garoppolo would have been well positioned to be able to orchestrate something similar. I think the difference is the 10-3 version of the Patriots that we're seeing now would be a better and more dynamic offense. Jimmy Garoppolo has arm talent, and he has more athleticism right now than Tom Brady. I do believe Jimmy Garoppolo's improvisational skills, his scrambling ability, would generate more big plays in that offense than they're currently generating right now with Tom Brady.
It's interesting to look at. Now, one other thing you've got to factor in, I should say, is health situation. Jimmy Garoppolo's missed some time, so durability, that's something that Tom Brady's been extremely durable. But go back and look at those 3 years. So 2017, Tom Brady, 4,577 yards, 32 touchdowns, 8 picks. 2018, 43-55, 29 and 11. And then this year, right now, he's at 34, 37, 19, and 7. So it's really tailed off this year. And I think you can look at the offensive line, losing Gronk, a lot of those factors for that, kind of nosedive here. But still good statistical years in 17 and 18. In 17, as you mentioned, Buck, they have that, come from behind, down 28-3 win over Atlanta in the Super Bowl. That's the one I would maybe say, okay, and there was some Tom Brady magic involved there. Does Jimmy G, does he pull that one out? I'll put at least a question mark on that one. They lose to Philly in 2018, so that doesn't change. I won't think that changes with Jimmy. 2019, this last Super Bowl, they beat the Rams in a defensive battle, low-scoring game. So I would say Jimmy Garoppolo probably wins you that football game. But, man, you look at Jimmy on pace right now this year. He's on pace for 3,994 yards, 31 touchdowns, 14 picks. So, maybe, I think the turnovers might be a little bit elevated with Garoppolo versus Brady, but you mentioned his ability to kind of extend plays and create. There's that. And look, we're talking about 17, 18, 19. If they decided to keep Garoppolo, what does that difference mean for them from this going forward for the next, 6-7 years, versus Brady, who's going to be, he's not going to play through that length of time.
I think they're better positioned if Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback, and I'm sure that Bill Belichick probably had that in mind. He knew that it set back the franchise, and he's still trying to work on a backup plan, whether that's Jarrett Stidham or somebody else, to be the guy that can succeed Tom Brady. It is better to get rid of a player a year too early than a year too late. And you do wonder if Bill Belichick looks out on the field and says, you know what, we probably should have moved on from Tom Brady last year or maybe even the year before, rather than having to kind of scratch and claw and fight our way through an offense that's led by a quarterback that is in severe decline.
This is the greatest, arguably the greatest player of all time in Tom Brady, and they did not want that on their tombstone, that they got rid of Tom Brady while he still had some football left in him, even though you could make the case that the Patriot way would have been to stick with Garoppolo and let Brady walk a little bit early. So in this case, they kind of broke their own rule.
They absolutely broke their own rule. I understand that they always talk about exceptions to every rule, but in breaking this rule, they may have hurt their franchise long term, because just think of the prospects of Jimmy Garoppolo growing with that defense in place. Just imagine him in New England. You're New England, who has a young quarterback that's coming to his own. with that defense. It actually would allow Bill Belichick to hit the reset button and to play like the 2001, 2003, 2004 Patriots that leaned a little more on that defense. It might have been a solid, maybe a better development plan for Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not saying that he hasn't developed, but it would have been a way for him to develop without having all the pressure on the franchise, and the team could still sustain their success.